And so this book has got translation mostly by Reverend G.U. Pope, and also has uh, partial translations by other people. This translation was done, perhaps, if I remember right, in the late 19th century. And but the reason I'm doing this is I find this book is not published anymore. They have got only translation of G. Pope, just stripped off the introduction and the translation by other people. So this book has got more useful information, and it will be a good introduction to Tirukkural itself. So I will start with Foreword by the Honourable Mr. Justice V. Subrahmanyam. You can see him here. So this foreword was written in 1958. I got this book perhaps in 1962, and I got all the translations here. Um, so let me start with the foreword. Among the people who, after long centuries of evolution, had, before the beginning of the Christian era, built a solid and brilliant fabric of civilization were the Tamils. They had built towns and cities and had reached a high standard of life and achievement, not merely in relation to the material comforts and convenience of life, but also in the realms of art, literature, and philosophy. That books and friendships were among the chief pleasures of the Tamils of that age indicates the high cultural level of their lives. The book to which this forms the introduction has the following distich. நவில்தொறும் நூல் நயம் போலும் பயில்தொறும் பண்புடையாளர் தொடர்பு, which means just as close a study of a good book yields increasing pleasures, so does deeper friendship among good men result in greater happiness. So that is the metaphor is, when you read a good book, the more closer you read, you enjoy it more if it's a good book. Uh, so it is similar. The uh, friendship with good people is gives greater happiness. So that reflects the culture of the people. The author of the Kural considered துறந்தார் பெருமை துணைக்கூறின் வையத் திறந்தாரை எண்ணிக்கொண்டற்று. Ascetic is துறந்தார். That means to start talking about the greatness of the men who have renounced the world is like beginning to count the number of men who have died since the beginning of time. That means it is like to attempt a task that can have no ending. But the author's final answer was, வையத்துள் வாழ்வாங்கு வாழ்பவன் வானுரையும் தெய்வத்துள் வைக்கப்படும், which means the man who lives the life of a householder, the way it should be lived, takes rank with the gods who are in heaven. In any civilized society, there are men who have preferences among musicians and forms of music. There used to be a debate among the Tamils of those times as to whether as an instrument of music the yard was to be preferred to the kural. So Valluvar's answer is, குழல் இனிது யாழ் இனிது என்பதம் மக்கள் மழலை சொல் கேளாதவர், which means for the father the prattle of the infant children than the music of the flute or the yard. The exquisite sophistication of that civilization is perhaps best brought out by the couplet which states that just as a man as he grows more learned, realizes more fully the limitlessness of knowledge, so does a man, as he gets more deeply attached to his beloved, realize more fully the limitlessness of love. I'll read it again. The exquisite sophistication of their civilization is perhaps best brought out by that couplet, which states as follows: just as a man, as he grows more learned, realizes more fully the limitlessness of knowledge, so does a man, as he gets more deeply attached to his beloved, realize more fully the limitlessness of love. The Tamils of that age were as skilled in the arts of war as in the arts of peace. Their standard of courage is set in the following couplet: விழித்தக்கண் வேல் கொண்டெறிய அழித்துமைப்பின் ஒற்றன்றோ ஒன்கணவர்க்கு. விழித்தக்கண் வேல் கொண்டெறிய அழித்து இமைப்பின் ஒற்றன்றோ ஒன்கணவர்க்கு, which translates like this: you are no soldier if your eye winks seeing the enemy's spear flying towards it. The Tamils 2000 years ago had trade and commerce with other communities, not merely in our country but also in the rest of Asia and in Europe. The Tamil states exchanged ambassadors and plenipotentiaries with other states in Bharat and with foreign nations. The Tamils had no doubt that their civilization had the stability of the laws of nature. To a sage in Tamil Nadu came the call to create a literary work in which the way of life of the Tamils would be permanently portrayed. The sage was Tirukkural, and the works is the Kural, to which I have the privilege to introduce the reader. It was written about 2000 years ago. Tirukkural was not called upon to build an utopia or construct a new heaven and a new earth in the rarefied atmosphere of abstract thought. He was proud of the society in which he lived. There were, to be sure, in that society, wicked men and wastrels as well as men of nobility and virtue. With such strokes, he painted both sets of men, Kayamai and Panbudamai. It is he has talked about the low-minded people as well as the cultured elite people. But he was satisfied with such that society has been organized with an eye to maintain conditions in which it would be easy for men to lead a moral life, and that men were not left in doubt as to their functions and place in society or as to their ultimate destiny. Again, but he was satisfied, the Tiruvallur was satisfied that the society had been organized with an eye to maintain conditions in which it would be easy for men to lead a moral life, and that men were not left in doubt as to their functions and place in society or as to their ultimate destiny. In broad divisions and under suitable subheads and in separate chapters, he described the life and attributes of the ordinary citizen, householder, the sage, ascetic, and the king, ministers of state, and other men of power and influence. In depicting life and manners and in formulating rules of conduct for individual success and social harmony, he reminded men constantly of Aram, which means it cannot be translated in English. This is a word in Tamil, and also some Tamil words, like many words in some languages, cannot be translated into other languages. Aram, which could be translated as dharma or duty or moral duty, ethical duty, and all those things. The great power which keeps ceaseless watch over individuals, the state and society, and which confers on lives lived in accordance with its principles, reaches beyond measure, both material and spiritual. So Aram itself is personified as a great power here. So in depicting the life and manners and in formulating rules of conduct for individual success and social harmony, he reminded men constantly of Aram, the great power, Aram, the great power which keeps ceaseless watch over individuals, the state, and society, and which confers on lives lived in accordance with its principles, reaches beyond measure, both material and spiritual. So we will stop here for now. We will stop for now, and I will continue maybe uh, tomorrow or next week with the rest of it. We will have other programs, other activities as shown in the